Do you know what that sounds to me, Moses?
What does that sound like?
That sounds to me like our topic of today.
Hey, you don't say. What is it?
Well, it is Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, episode 3.
Hey, amazing. Episode 3. Oh, goodness.
Goodness gracious.
Hey,
I'm a
who are
Hotfoot.
you?
I'm a Hotfoot.
A hard fart. Yeah. All right. But like, who are you? We've just begun this. Who are you? Who am I?
Oh, who are we? Well,
Yeah.
hello everyone. Welcome to Spoilers, obviously. I am your guest, Moon, and with us today, our
I'm
host,
the host, Joel. Hi everyone. So this is spoilers, obviously. What? That's one of those moments right there. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I liked it. We'll just say you did that on purpose.
Yes.
Should I introduce you then?
If you want to, go ahead.
Guys, welcome to the table. My favorite guest and constant, thorn in my side. It's Joel and Kiki.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing? How you doing, man? It's been a while.
I'm doing good. How are you, man?
Man, it's been snapping, but that's just the way of it. Someone get him out of here, right? Solid words of wisdom. But Joel, it's nice to have you back on the program. What have you been up to these days?
What I've been up to, let's see, working and taking care of my sick family from COVID and stuff.
Yeah. All right. Let me set the vibe. No. Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate that. That's cool. So tell me a little bit more about what is it that you actually do on the day to day? Like, what's your job?
I work. I
work as.
I'm trying to translate it from Hebrew to English. Mahsan Kabbalah,
yeah, the engineer of the receipt. No, Mahsan is not related to.
Mahsan is storage. I'm a storage. Exactly. Translated from Hebrew to English.
Kabbalah receipt. Here a storage receipt.
I am
storage manager.
No,
storage.
Not manager. I work in storage.
Logistics. What kind of things do you store in storage?
Biological international stuff.
Industries. That sounds really scary.
It is. It is.
I don't know what they want. They're storing these days. All right.
Yes. Anyways, yeah.
So, man, you've been keeping up with Rings of Power? Is that something going on?
I have been keeping up with Rings of Power, and I have to say it is one of the best contents out there.
Oh, we're doing that kind of thing. Yes. Excellent. One of my absolute favorite shows on the internet these days. Oh my gosh. Just absolutely everything that they're doing to it is okay. Can we just stop? Just I'm done. No. Okay.
I love that even for a joke, you can't say that it's a good show.
No, I'm done. I can't. That's it for me.
I wanted to see how far you would go because I was about to say it's better than Tolkien's work itself.
Oh, now you're just punching me in the gut. That's what that just deserves one of those. I can even remember what the thing is. It would be. Bye. There you go.
Anyways, all jokes aside, let's get to the actual episode, guys.
Yeah, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so we are going to talk about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, episode 3, if I'm not mistaken. By the time we are recording this episode, tomorrow morning is episode 4. So yay! Woohoo!
Yay! Just kill me now.
Yes. So
it's just one of those. I'm gonna walk off. Hold on.
God, all the sound effects that you have is absolutely amazing. So I'm on Facebook and I'm on multiple groups, specifically for the podcast to see like what everyone is talking about. One of the groups I'm in is obviously Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. And from time to time I gaze upon what people say over there. And I stumble upon multiple posts and comments. A lot of the posts are shitting about this show completely. A lot of them are actually praising this, and a lot of them is actually whoever said that this show is bad is racist and doesn't understand good like good stuff and all that. So I want to say for those people specifically, they're saying that the Tolkien fans are shitting on this show because they're racist. I will bet 100% none of you ever read any Tolkien book, any of his work. And if you haven't read, I highly suggest read, The Hobbit and read Lord of the Rings. Start with those books. If you are intrigued, continue with, the Silmarils, the Silmarillion, the Silmarils, then continue to Baron Luthien, Children of Huron, The Fall of Gondolin. November, there's going to be a book, The Fall of Numenor, that is coming out. Anyways, if you don't have time to read, obviously listen to audiobook. No, this is not sponsored by anyone, but do your fucking research. Actually listen, read. If you don't have time to even audiobook, go to YouTube and watch. I suggest Nerd of the Rings. Okay, go to his channel. He goes in the most simplistic way possible and explains. And the more you get deep into this world and fall in love with it, you understand the work that Tolkien did over here and why the fans are actually shitting on this show and not racist.
Yep.
I understand you guys are saying, oh, there needs to be black, representation and all that, but that is against the lore and the story. And I have to say, with everything that's going on in this show, how Amazon butchered this show completely, I came to a point that we have dark skin colors is no longer my issue. My main issue is the fact that they're purposely butchering Tolkien's work. At first it was, hey, these dwarves, female dwarves, they don't have beards. It's against lore, it's all that. Hey, we have hobbits in the Second Age. That's it, what the fuck? Hey, we have black characters, black elves. Like, this is not according to the word. Those were stuff that at first were a major issue for me. But the more we get into this show, the more like, you know what? Those things are no longer a major issue for me. The major issue is Amazon have the rights to tell the story properly, and they purposely are not doing it. And that is not.
I'm still stuck on the fucking beard, but like it's just fucking it's just the beard, man. It's just like forget everything about the narrative purposes. If they only had the fucking beard, like I'd probably be more sympathetic to the causes, but they're just no, but bits aside, I mean, like I've listened to some people who are actually familiar with the works of Tolkien quite well, and they're still siding on the certain aspects, and like I hear their arguments and I hear where they're pulling certain things, like Tolkien was super against segregation, and like he quote unquote more or less like would have no such thing. Those being his personal views. On the other side, he also said in one quote, he doesn't care what characters you think are a certain color or race. But what I have a problem with is that this is basically the preamble towards what we would have as the mythos for what would be eventually in the European lore and slash like the elder days of what would eventually be. Now, on one thing, I don't mind having homogenous races and or species. That's also another big thing. People don't seem to understand the difference between race and species. Like dwarves and elves, different species altogether. In fact, with the origins, I would even especially with the idea, like if people understood the creation of how the children of Iluvatar came to be, and or how dwarves came to be, and or how elves eventually came to be, etc., and all the other species and or races on which are not interchangeable but are generically used words for this. Like it would be interesting. Now, like Tolkien said, like coloration doesn't matter. However, there are certain logics and principles that do preside within certain aspects of like, and I'm not going to eugenics or anything like that nature, but I would say it's more interesting to me it's weirder to me. Like again, race card. I'm super glad that like people are getting to play roles. That's super awesome. However, sometimes it sticks out like a sore thumb. So our Black Elf friend, he's doing a killer job. Love his acting, love the story. I think it's really cool with that aspect. I'm really digging it. However, he does stand out a bit, as there are not that many other elves of color that I have seen around. However, if they were introduced that like, oh, this is not one of the Noldor, this is one of the other factions of elves that had eventually gone over from Valinor and settled in, and these are the Linden or these are the whatever elves, like that is timeline hasn't actually, none of things have been firmly established to show like, oh, these elves are darker in tone, these elves are not, and that's okay if they were more giving some more subtle world building exposition like that, but there isn't. Not all the dwarves are homogenous either, which is fine. Again, I don't mind. In fact, I personally believe, and I'm more of a fan, especially in fantasy, I like dwarves being differently toned, especially not because they're pale because they live under the sun, or they don't live under the sun and they live underground, but that they have more like earthy tones because they're more earthen beings, or more stone carven, like more, I don't know, even like how a stone is polished and reveals its facets similar to a dwarf skin. That would be really fucking cool. These aren't details that are covered in Tolkien, but it'd be interesting. And having that kind of display, there's nothing wrong. Like the funny thing is, like within even the Harfoots, like they're super diverse, which is fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with diversity, but if it makes sense, so that's one faction where I'm like, okay, maybe the Tolkien world doesn't need to be super, can have diversity, but maybe some homogenous aspects would be more interesting or whatever, especially since the children of Iluvatar, which is man, are together. And this is early in the stage. We've now just seen Numenor, and it's a very mixed cultural place. It's very interesting because they were eventually got very like, no, these are our borders. So, yeah. So I have questions and I have thoughts, and like I'm okay with certain directions, but I also think that like leaning like what like come on, I want to see some diversity amongst the orcs. Like
Yeah.
where are my Hispanic or like people of color POCs? Yeah, that's okay to say. Or my minorities being represented amongst the orcs. Like, come on now.
Yeah, they did diversity in wherever you can see it, not where you like. Why don't we have female orcs? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that's a thing, because like they exist. Tolkien
Yeah.
never really like talked about it, but he implied. Yeah.
Yeah, so we should have a strong female independent orc who
Yeah,
does not
absolutely.
listen to Sauron, and she runs her own army
Which in one thing could be totally plausible because orcs were more like easily subdued, weak of mind, and like whatever. That was one thing. But like Tolkien had talked about that there was not neutrality, but orcs that wanted to do their own thing, but due to the circumstance of their quote unquote their predispositions towards like how they look and where their origins come from, that living a peaceful life would be probably very out of the question. But I think there was remember the orc that finds and explains about Frodo's condition after he's been webbed up by Shelob?
Yeah.
I can't remember where I heard this, and I believe this is credible, but I need to be checked on this. But the idea is that his either it's in the lore or it's in the book, or there's a reference that he doesn't want to fight. Like he wants to have his own little orc house somewhere out there, but can't. Because people will just hunt him down. Something like that. I think it was in a letter or something that Tolkien addressed to someone.
Well, that would be interesting to find out. You did say something interesting about orcs and weak minds. And this is an issue that Adam said on the Hebrew podcast that we did about this episode. So orcs are weak-minded, and there is an evil prophecy that if Morgoth were ever to fall, and the successor of Morgoth will continue on the legacy, and you guys need to go to the land of Mordor where everything will thrive. And how will you know how to get there? Here is a map, the whatever symbol we saw. Now they don't tell us like that is Mordor. They just say, here is a symbol, find that, go there. Also weak-minded, just like you said. If the smartest elf couldn't answer and like find out what this symbol means, how will the weak orc will know?
I think there's a difference between intelligence and weakness of mind. I meant weakness of mind that they are easily subdued, or they're built to be a subservient, or twisted and corrupted to be a subservient race to the Dark One. The thing is that is quite that conundrum, if you will, is answered by context, that they would know because they were told what it meant.
Yes, but like what, thousands and thousands of years ago?
I don't know. I don't think it was. I guess it would be pretty long ago, but
I know. I don't know.
They haven't established a timeline, so I'm not quite sure.
Exactly. We don't know what year we are, but we do know that Amazon does not give a fuck about the timeline at all. And we will get into that.
Yeah. As he's hacking it up, this episode is sponsored by Beans. The more you eat, the more you toot.
So this episode, we are in Numenor, which is visually amazing. Stunning. It's exactly how I imagine it. This is the thing with Amazon. When it comes to visually, they're doing an amazing job. When it comes to storytelling, they are fucking this up big time. So
I agree. Some visuals, again, it's all in interpretation, right? This is a nitpick for visuals. It's interesting because it's like Tibetan Babylonian fusion kind of, whereas I haven't like looking at the elves and/or their inspiration comes more or less from Peter Jackson's work, where I like the Rohirrim are definitely like Nordic, northern people, definitely understood, but I still haven't really found like what the elves were kind of based off of. Like culturally, I couldn't really identify it. However, And even Lord of the Rings, Jackson trilogy with Gondor, like there are hints and whatnot with what the Numenorians were capable of, with the Argonath, the two hands reaching out. However, I think they went a little above and beyond, but with like all the faces in the rock and the standing statue and whatnot. However, this is a golden age, so I could be wrong and I could be completely off. But I felt some of the aesthetics were like a little overdone or like whatever. However, jumping a little ahead before we like recap, when the queen decides to send what's his face to on the errand to watch over Galadriel, she gives him his sword. That sword is gorgeous. As someone who loves swords and like loves sword porn, that that had me jizzing. Like I was like, that is beautiful, because you could see it's an easy like pre step towards Anduin, like what Anduin would be, but or similar reference. But I love the circular, the gold and white. Like that just that was delicious. Point for the visuals. However, let's go back.
We are in Numenor, and we see a little conflict between Galadriel. I forget the other guy's name, who was Halbrand, I think his name is. Who was with the Galadriel, and how they all basically like, oh, okay, you're a man, so no problem. You an elf, fuck you. And there's conflict over there. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the conflict, like the first king was Elrond's brother, who was king for like what 500 years, who is half elf, half human.
Yeah, who chose to be a man. Yeah,
who chose to be a man, and then obviously died. But the first king was an elf, and then over here we see like they are against elves. Yes, the reason for that is because they want to go to the Undying Lands, to
Valar.
Yeah, so they want to go to Valar, but you are not allowed to go to Valar unless you permitted to go to
the Valinor. Sorry, Valar, and then No, you're right. Valinor is the place. The Valar are the people.
Anyways,
there.
the Undying Lands.
Yeah. I see. The thing is, like, I thought that was the case, but I don't think that's actually the case. With a quick review, I think they got the motivation wrong for the Numenorians in the show, because I always thought them a people of hubris, not a people of spite. And there's a difference. Like arrogance and hubris are similar, different, and spite being played in either one of them changes drastically. I always thought them to be like, eventually they're like, fuck it, like we're our own, like fuck you guys.
So yeah, at first they were like, yeah, we are on, fuck you guys and all that. We have all this land. But at some point they basically got jealous of the elves and the Valar that they gave the elves, eternal life. And why can't we have eternal life? Yes, we do know Numenorians do have longer lives compared to the average person.
They are indeed the original Dunedain.
The Dunedain. So yeah, they live, if I'm not mistaken, I'm gonna throw an insane number.
Yep.
300 years maximum.
Probably. I don't. That doesn't really draw to my mind. I forget how old Aragorn lived up to.
So we do know Aragorn during the years of Lord of the Rings. He is in his 80s.
Yeah.
He looks like he's in his 40s. I think he dies like in his mid to late 200s. So that's why I say like maximum 300. Again, I'm like I'm highballing it. I'm most likely wrong over here, but yeah, what we do know, Numenorians are known to have
the age of 210.
210. Okay, so early 200. So
Mhm.
we do know Numenorians, they are blessed with longer lives compared to the average person,
Yep.
and because of that, the Numenorians got very jealous, and they wanted to go to the Undying Lands, but they were not permitted, and therefore they got jealous and started to hate the elves, and that's why there's a little feud over there.
No, I understand that as the more or less. Is that the book explanation? Because I don't recall this.
I believe that is the book explanation. I do believe that Nerd of the Rings does explain it. I will look for the video itself, and
Link me up, boy.
I'll definitely link you up. And because of that, they they basically said, you know what, we will close off our island and be our own shit. What I do also know,
Is that
Numenorians.
because they're island boys?
I
Is he an
think
island boy? Sorry, had to.
no,
You
good.
do know that.
I do know that Numenorians are like very tall as well. They're like 2, maybe even 3 meters tall.
Mm,
Now, obviously, they didn't portray them in the show. They're tall, so that's nitpicking. Whatever.
minute detail, yeah.
It's a minor detail. It's not like affects the plot itself. What
But if
does
they were to be more accurate to the book and bring in that representation as they claim, they should have represented the tall people and just hired old tall actors.
yeah, represent my
Yeah.
Amazon. But
Yeah.
anyways, what they do, ruined over here with the storyline is, guess who they brought 1,600 years before he was born?
Oh, would that be Isildur?
It is Isildur. And I did say last episode, I think we're gonna see them, and you said like, yeah, no fucking way. Well, guess who was wrong again, Moses? It was Nye. It wasn't me,
Yeah,
it was you.
it was definitely me. Well, here's the thing: they haven't established a timeline. So, like for me, we are early second age. This doesn't feel right to be super late second age, because super late second age, a lot of things have already happened.
Yeah, so
Because if
to
it's young, that doesn't mean shit. That means a lot of things have already happened, and we're starting to blur into the third age.
yes, so to put over here a timeline to the listeners, so Sauron created the rings in the year 1590 of the Second Age. He then created the One Ring in the year 1600 of the Second Age. The Blue Wizards come to Middle Earth in the year 1600 of the Second Age, same year as Sauron creates the One Ring. Isildur is born, if I remember right, in the year 3209 of the Second Age. Now, you are telling us that this show is called The Rings of Power before the rings are even created. But
Yeah.
you're bringing me Isildur before the rings are created, but it makes no sense. Not only that, he has a sister that, according to the books, he doesn't have a sister.
Which is why I'm like, this is why I was like, this can't be Isildur. Maybe it's like a common name in the fucking like bloodline, but at the same time, like it doesn't make sense. Clearly, this is a reference, because if it's early enough, then you can have a sister and like what fuck all. But like clearly, it hurts so much.
It really hurts. Like, again, Amazon put $720 million into this show. Half of it, yes, did go to own the rights, or to have the rights, to be more accurate, and the other half to do this show. They, according to the contract, have to do 5 seasons. Unlike House of the Dragon, they did 1 season, but they were hoping that the first episode will be a success, and only then they'll get a green light for season 2. And that's what happened with House of the Dragon. Over here, Amazon's like, yeah, we are not building on any episode. We are going to do 5 seasons because we paid for it. Now,
It's literally what I've been saying. This world feels like a sandbox. You
it
know,
is.
it's the sandbox is the theme of Lord of the Rings, and people are just, oh, and this person's doing this, even though they're not here yet. Like, for fuck's sake! Like, literally, if Gandalf the White showed up in the next episode, it would make sense to me because that's how shitty this whole thing is.
Dude, I can't wait till Smeagol comes into play with the One Ring. dude, it would make perfect sense.
Relax, those are rings of Paris. And there will dance. That's what's precious. Lives the rings of Paris.
Dude, first of all, that was an amazing impression. Oh my god! But you're telling us that according to the contract, we have 5 seasons already signed, and yet you're bringing characters so early on to the timeline. Like, if they would have done this properly, I don't expect to see Isildur at least until the end of season 4 to beginning of season 5.
Yep.
That is doing it more accurate, but they're not. They're shitting on us and on specifically the fans of Tolkien. And whoever is not a fan of Tolkien, they're shitting on you without you even realizing it.
I just don't understand, like, what the fuck was going on in the writers'... Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. What the fuck was going on in the writers' room? Like, I just don't understand. Like, at what point where they're like, hey, you know what would be a really great idea? What? Just ruining the whole fucking story. We'll just put it all together. We'll take all the scripts, we'll load them into a shotgun, the whole entire second age into a shotgun, and we're gonna have a PA fire it at a wall, and then we'll just pick the pieces of the scripts on the wall and then just put them all together, and then whatever comes out of that we'll do, because that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I like I said in the last episode, this is not based off of Tolkien. This is inspired by Tolkien, and they are inspired to ruin this for everyone.
To be honest, though, if they actually did that, it would probably still be a better story.
What if they did?
If they had a PA, or if they loaded a shotgun with the second age material and then shot it and had a PA pick it all up together, it'd probably still be a better story.
Probably. Look, if you ask me personally, I do not consider this as canon anymore. I don't consider this as Lord of the Rings.
No, I stopped at the moment I understood who they thought Galadriel was. It's like, no, this is not Lord of the Rings. No. And then people are criticizing all of us for it, and now we jump to this, and we're like, yep, like this is the slowest slog. Like, I'm having difficulties paying attention or watching this because I don't care, and it just feels like a waste of my time.
It is. I feel the exact same thing, and yes, it's a slow
for you.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, like I said in the previous episode, I like as a fan, I want to see it because I don't want to like just sit by passively and criticize emptily. I want to see it with my own eyes, but it is really difficult. It really hurts. It's like watching someone slap my kid. I'm not even married, or I don't even have kids, but it just feels like this is my baby, and I'm watching people who I don't even know just keep smacking him in the face.
And you can't do anything to stop them.
They slap with impunity, and I resent them.
Yes. No, this is... I stopped considering this as Lord of the Rings. It's hard. It's hard to watch. It's
every time we do this episode, every time our spirits are going to be more and more crushed. We're just eventually going to get to a point where we're like, hey guys, we're going to talk about Ring of Power. And the whole episode is just pure silence of us just sitting in pure sulk of...
Yes. Okay, so you did mention a lot of time passed, 3. Okay, 3 episodes, that's 3 hours. One movie is more or less 3 hours. Depends on which
Mhm.
version you're watching. Dude, in one movie, a lot happens. A
Mhm.
lot.
Is that a
And
problem with writers of these days? They just don't know how to make the pace move.
it's not only the pace, forget the pace. It's that nothing has happened.
Mm-hmm.
In 3 episodes / 3 hours, what happened? Galadriel came back to the Gilgalad. She
Mhm.
then was sent to the Undying Lands. She said
Yep.
no. She's now in Numenor. Okay, that's her
Yep.
story.
Yep.
Meteor Man, he landed. Okay, now the other stories.
He's friends with Nori. Fuck you, man. It's a beautiful tale, and it's so inspiring. I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez. But
Oh,
yeah,
geez, Rick. This Lord of the Rings stuff seems really complicated, right? I feel like this should be much better. Why does it feel like a bunch of ass?
because it is. Morty.
Okay. Oh, jeez.
Oh, let's.
That's how much we care about the material that's being presented. We're just going on tangents with various voices.
Yeah, but I do want to try to talk about
Going
points
at
that
Christopher Walken there.
no,
I do want to
okay.
tell you about certain type of points of the Lord of the Rings of Power.
You know, there's some good things that can come out of this, boys. We,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm not good at impressions.
I like
Make
your
America, no, whatever.
impressions.
Anyways, so we have the elves basically stuck with the orcs,
Uh-huh.
the albino orcs. I'll be specific on that.
Mm.
I did see a lot of people say like, "What the fuck? Why do these orcs, get sunburned, and the orcs in Lord of the Rings they don't?" So
Well,
to
that's a lore thing because that's orcs versus urukai. That's well explained.
So yeah, to the people who want that explanation, read the fucking material. To
Read the books.
but and
Don't care which side of the argument you're on. You don't fucking know.
yeah,
I
no,
can't stand your bullshit.
but to answer that, yes. So there are different species of orcs. Like we have different species of hobbits and elves and
That's why there are
dwarves.
female orcs. The
Yeah,
urukai being brought out of the ground is fine. Like that's no issue. Like a magical fusion between various dark creatures.
yeah. So the Urukai, who are the orcs we see in the movies, they are adapted to daylight and nighttime,
Mhm.
so they don't get burnt and during the sun.
Also, Gandalf clearly states it in the Return of the King when the cloud is spreading. Sauron is spreading his cloud so that his forces may walk easy under the light of day. Like clear instances. That was the second reference.
Yeah,
That the orcs of Mordor don't like the sun, and that also that the lands of Mordor are shrouded and clouded anyways, so that the orcs can do their thing. Like we've never seen. Also, when we see the orcs chilling with Saruman, I forget the name of the tower, but whatever. They're in the cover of night.
yeah, So watch the movies, read the books, or I even though I'm
Get educated, kids.
yeah.
Don't be like Uncle Tony here. He never got himself an education.
We do see the elves are captured and being tortured and all that. And my theory is where they're going with this story. Legolas does tell us that these orcs did used to be elves. So what if this is kind of those?
I think there was even in this show they referenced that this happened prior, that Morgoth had already corrupted elves. That they there was that little banter between the orc and the elf
Mhm.
in the pit, and I think he said something along the lines of that. Besides, I don't care what pit you call it out of or whatever, but like that, there was a bit of an understanding that like they were elves. I don't think they'll do that. I don't think we're. First of all, I don't know where we are in the timeline, but fuck me. But seriously, but the corruption of the elves into orcs into a sustainable species it was much before, much like way before all this. So
Well, yeah. We
yeah.
okay, yeah, we do know it's much before, but that is on one hand. The other hand, Amazon is basically doing a huge fuck you. So
Mm.
I'm trying to play the game of
Do you think that the evil character who's appearing
do I okay, so do I
is
think
going to corrupt the elves, or do you think that's Sauron? It's probably not, but
I don't think it's Sauron. I think that is another like a diversion because we still don't know who is Meteor Man or the Stranger,
no.
however you want to call him. The other theory is that that guy is the Gandalf, even though according to what Adam told me, you can see you can find online what rights do they have to which characters, and apparently they don't have the rights to Gandalf. So that said, this is in no way Gandalf. If it is true and they don't have the rights to Gandalf,
He's just a nameless wizard. There's no way he's Gandalf.
So it could be the Blue Wizards, but then like okay, was the other one because they are two, not one. But then again, you have like, hey, you know what? We Amazon, fuck you guys. We've been doing fuck you this entire time, so we are going to create a new wizard.
I was always under the impression that the wizards had sailed
to. They did.
Yeah. And I was also under the impression that the Blue Wizards arrived together as a duo, but I
did. But Amazon keeps saying, fuck you, man.
So my arsehole feels very violated. So I don't know. I'm very disoriented and dehydrated and confused. And can you help me, sir? Because I don't know where I am.
Well, I sure can, because this episode brought to you by Aqua. Drink some more water, get hydrated, and your asshole won't be as tight.
Thank you, Aquaman.
Glop.
Glug, glug, glug.
Moist.
No, but that's seriously nice. But like, look, Game of Thrones season 8 was bad.
Yes.
It really was. But there are almost borderline excuses for it. One, the writers were tired and they wanted to finish. Fair enough. Two, the material that was same like in any anime. Like look at the two Full Metal Alchemists. I think it's the one that isn't Brotherhood, where they ran out of source material. They actually exceeded the manga before it was finished, so they needed to find their own way of finishing the story. However, in Full Metal Alchemist, even that ending is pretty good, even though it's nothing close to the original or what the actual source is. In the end, it's still honorable. But Game of Thrones, they ran out of material. They didn't have any more books to come up with, and they couldn't continue on with the actual what George R. R. Martin wanted. Had his story actually been finished, they probably would have stayed pretty close, and it would have been okay, and people would have been somewhat satisfied. Here, we have all the material. We have a concise timeline. The Silmarillion, comprised of the 6 books that it is, more or less, plus some various extra things. Like it's all there. It doesn't need too much. You can definitely be creative and have some licenses with appearance and dialogue and certain things. but there's some very concise things, and you can just, I've never seen a show that was just, the source material was not, or they just did not give a crap about.
Yeah, they're not even close. They're not even trying. Again, you have the rights to tell the story as it should be told, and you're purposely not doing it. And because you are trying to shove all the woke bullshit, you're also changing stuff compared to the actual movies. For example, in the movies, we do see Isildur. We see him
Yeah.
in the movies. Over here, we see him as a young person. Not gonna be racist over here, but he's dark skinned. Compared to the movies, he's white. So, you now change his appearance. It's one thing you brought him 1,600 years before he was born. You're now changing his entire skin tone. So now, to anyone who's, let's say, watch the series, then watch the movies, like, these person don't look alike. It's different skin tone. Like,
well, if you've watched enough Marvel by that point, and having watched all the phases by that point, because then they're gonna be like, oh, this is a different timeline. Cool? Question mark.
But so this is something I said, like, on the Hebrew podcast with Adam that we recorded a few days ago. It's one thing you come and tell me we have the rights and we're going to tell a story and shit all over it, to hey, we have the rights or we don't have the rights, it doesn't matter, we are going to do it. What if this happened? Like, I feel like this show is what if Isildur was actually a lot earlier than his time period, and all the other
I feel
stuff.
like it's, what if we didn't actually have a timeline?
What if we didn't give a fuck about the actual story and the audience, and they can go fuck themselves?
It's funny. It's interesting. Like, to the amount of detail that has been put in the show, which is pretty exquisite. The slight tangent into the dwarves, as much as they have semi borrowed from the Jackson trilogy some of the aesthetics, which is awesome, or at least roots thereof. I have a huge issue with some of the dwarven stuff. We've seen dwarven stuff from the Jackson's the Hobbit trilogy that's older than what we saw in Lord of the Rings, and we have a direction of what it's kind of going. And we look at this new one, and I don't know if you saw the armor for the dwarves.
Yeah,
some of the concept was cool, but like the practicality and what it looked like utter rubbish, especially with a beard shield. Like, the concept is funny, but it's so impractical, and so also like the I mean, it looked like glass, or what was supposed to be glass, but like tinted glass. It was to look scary and stuff in the helm is just a bad idea. And so the shapes and the design of the dwarven stuff just felt like really half-assed, and really like no concept was like actually thought through. And it felt really disorienting, because I really liked some of the dwarven stuff that I saw there. But on the other half, like that type of like elite guard and shit, like, just really felt out of the aesthetic of the world in and of itself. And it's just like, again, and like, that's a small nitpick comparatively, but like, aesthetics like that are super important in the overall picture of building like a firm world. Like, it just really pisses me off.
Yeah, it's very important. I do want to touch upon the Hardfoots a bit. I did watch Nerd of the Rings video about the Hobbits, and apparently Hardfoots are actually a thing.
Yep.
The
Harfoots are an early peoples of the
so Bilbo and all that, they are descendants from the Hardfoots,
Yeah.
From what my understanding, but still, hobbits were only come to play like they do. He does say like no one knows about them, but
Mhm.
we only find out about them in like 1000 of the third age, more or less.
Yeah,
Somewhere,
the beginning of the third age.
yes, somewhere over there. But what was funny with for me in this episode, so in episode 1, they tell us like we Hartfords, men have their grain to plant, the elves have the forest to protect, the dwarf the mines. We Hartford, we have each other, and we will always stick together. And then in this
Mm.
episode, we see they're reading a book of all the people who stayed behind and died. Not only that, because Nori's father broke his leg, he's now in the back of the line. Well, not because he broke his leg, but because of Nori and the Meteor Man. But now he's back of the line, and he's like, "Are you guys gonna help us?" Like, no, you're gonna be back of the line. If you can't make it, that's on you. It's like, didn't you guys say we all still stick together? You even have a song, "Stick to the Path, and we will all be together." Like you chanted that, and yet
Mm.
here you are like, fuck you guys, stay behind. If you die, you die.
I don't have too much of a problem with it. That. Could be just like cause exploring a theme of like not conflicting, but what do you say, contradicting slash hypocritical, like ideals versus reality. But at the same time, yeah, like they're not a very unified thing. However, I also wouldn't picture them as mobile or nomadic. Like I feel like they would spring up and settle because like the Hobbit way, if you will, is very like relaxed and chilled. Whereas being a nomadic tribe, like that doesn't trickle down into becoming settled folk and proper civilized.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they wouldn't learn to tend and to care. Like these are their roots. Like at some point it has to stop, you know, in
Yeah.
order for them to develop. And like I mean, maybe the authors are the writers here are like, oh well, they've always been around. They're just hard to see because they've always traveled bits around and hiding camouflage. But having a huge history like that makes it very difficult because eventually, when they do settle, you would think, oh well, that's why are they suddenly becoming known, even though most people, because they're far north, don't really go up that way. But still, it's disconcerting.
Yeah. And it's what can you do?
I don't know.
the
I mean,
I
like,
Yeah.
like, look, they be. I brought up that thing earlier with the Scottish and the Irish Times are railing on them. Just it seems just for the kicks, but it's whatever. I like the betrayal of the Harfoots on some aspects. I'm not totally against every betrayal. I think Nori, the girl who's playing Nori, is giving her role and what she has to do is doing a believable job. Like I enjoy watching her. In fact, I don't care about Galadriel. I could literally she could fuck right off. She could be replaced by a lamppost and I would be just fine. Just an angry lamppost because that's her only defining feature. Nori is a really interesting character. I really enjoy the portrayal, and I have a thing towards like stage accents, and I thought she's doing lovely. I think the story is weak, but of all the A, B, and C plots that are out there, it's the only one I care about because I want to find out who Meteor Man is. The rest I could give like two fucks.
I agree with Nori. The actress acting is good. It's very believable, and I very much enjoying it. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about Galadriel, and it's disappointing because I had high hopes for Galadriel before we started watching this show, and
It's
it's
Kate
not.
Blanchett who plays the OG, right?
Yeah, but no, this is not Galadriel for
No
me.
idea. You'd think that the actress for this new character would be like, "Hey, Kate Blanchett, can you give me some tips on like how you harness the role of becoming a very like strong present character when you're on screen because you nailed it."
Yeah, but the thing is, I can understand why she didn't go to her because Amazon is doing like, oh no, this is before she was that powerful.
Doesn't even matter.
The problem is by this time period, Galadriel should be 5,000 years old.
She should be
Gilgalad,
married.
not only married, but she should also have a kid. But
Yep.
Gilgalad
She should
came,
have a kid if Elrond is around.
yeah. Gilgalad, if I'm not mistaken, was born in the beginning of the Second Age. So he's at least 1,000, like let's say 5,000, 1,500 years old, at least. And my problem, the dynamic between Gilgalad and Galadriel is, yes, I understand you're keen, but one, she is the granddaughter of a Valar, and yet you're looking down at her as if she's a pawn on a chess board, and it's like,
Yeah.
what the like, no, you should be looking up at her. She is that amazing. You are a king, and you should be looking up to her. This is like the Galadriel in the books. Like even by this time period, that's how amazing she is. Up till now, we didn't even see her do any magic, which I'm starting to feel she's going to get her magic powers from the ring, from Nina, which will be like, what, fuck you guys. And
again, just a kick in the balls. But like, there's so much because like, look, the elves are a very interesting character in the world of Tolkien. Like, they are kind of like, let's put it on the platform of like, let's just say ancient Troy. They're that far away in history. It's hard to personify what people were like back then, but we saw their actions. Tolkien writes the Silmarillions very in the broad sweep of history, where we see where one thing leads to another, and like what we should be seeing here are the elves still lamenting over the loss of the Silmarils, because within this era you have Beren and Luthien, and Beren is tasked as a mortal to find a Silmaril. So that
in the first stage. In the first stage, I read the book not that long ago.
Is this first stage?
First stage, yes.
Oh, so they've already thrown the Silmaril into the sea.
Yeah,
the one is lost, and
yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm a little backwards on this. Again, not having a timeline makes it very difficult.
It very does. You also sent us a video on the group.
Yeah, it was like a very good video. I need to watch it again. I enjoyed listening to it, but the thing is, like, then that means the second kinslaying has already happened.
A lot happens. This is the thing. So much. Like the prologue that we have in the first episode, they basically 6,000 to I don't remember how many years is the year of the trees. You actually have the year of the lamps, then the year of the trees, then the first age, then second age, then third age, then Tolkien did write one chapter about the fourth age. But anyways, in the prologue, they give us thousands and thousands of years within 2 minutes. Like, no, you can't do, like, so much happens.
Yeah.
And it's like, the way they showed it to us is like, okay, nothing really happened. Okay, yes, there was a bad guy, there was war, you defeated him, the end, now there's a new bad guy. Okay, I'm all caught up. It's like me saying, okay, Lord of the Rings, there's an evil guy, he created a ring, a little person took their ring and threw it to a volcano and won.
Great story.
No. He defeated the bad guy. That is basically the prologue to Lord of the Rings. Can you literally say, oh my God, I've learned so much? Like, no, like I skipped everything that actually happened.
It's so confusing, man.
Yeah. The other problem that I have, what they did with Numenor, it's the queen. It's the fact that there is a queen. because if I
Mhm.
remember right, there is no queen,
Nope.
and yeah, not only that she's a queen, but also that she is the only one, if I'm not mistaken, her and Isildur are the only one with darker skin.
Yeah, well, that is
And it's an island. It's an island.
kind of
Again.
funny. Yeah, they're island boys. The let's say, okay, like for sake of representation, whatever, cool. You know what? I wouldn't have had a problem had they gender swapped or gender bendered the couple so that the king is the king, or let's say the king becomes a queen and the queen is the king, but that their names are the same.
Mhm.
She, like, what I'm saying is, like, they did the opposite. They have a character who is a queen. They just don't have the king or who would become king, because before she was queen, she wasn't a title to become queen. She
Mhm.
was a different title. Someone came, married her, and then he became king. So if they just kept her name the same as the dude, then there's some tracking that can be done. Little like off, but like okay, cool, whatever. Like that can give us like some time reference, even more specific, because prior, before, and whatever. Like again, it's all feels like a Doctor Who episode. Everything's timey wimey. It doesn't really all. Well, that's poor to say because Doctor Who is one of my faves. So, and I like it. This I don't.
Never seen Doctor Who.
Uh, if you want to watch a good episode of Doctor Who, watch Blink.
Okay. Um, we do see one thing that I did like in Numenor. We see the white tree.
Yeah.
That who like this is how this is how insane Tolkien. He can literally write a 500-page book on a single tree. Like the history of this tree, this is a descendant of the two trees that we saw in the prologue.
Yep.
But to ever who doesn't know, here's a spoiler, but not really. Read the books. So we do know Numenor will sink to the ocean, but Isildur
It's
does.
Atlantis. Just in case you weren't sure.
Yeah. Isildur does take a fruit from the tree and saves it. And then he goes to Middle Earth, and then over there he plants it, where we later on see the descendant of that in the Lord of the Rings.
In Gondor, it's
In
the tree of
Gondor.
Isildur?
But
I don't remember.
this is the amazing, history of a tree that Tolkien took the time. Like, if you want to go even deeper, he took the time to do an entire story of a ring, and I'm not talking about the power rings. The ring that Baron has that later is passed down to what's his name?
Aragorn.
Aragorn.
Yeah.
So a ring from the first age all the way to the end of the third age.
Which has a lot of like deep meaning behind it.
Exactly, and again, this ring has no powers. It's just a nice, beautiful ring. But
But the history is
exactly. This is how amazing Tolkien went into his work, and it's a shame that Amazon fucking butchering it.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I don't count this as a Tolkien canon. Like I said in the last episode, I want the owners of Tolkien to do
make their own company.
Yeah, make their own, like Tolkien Studios, and do a chronological like MCU, like in that kind, like phase 1, we're gonna do like the year of the trees, phase 2, like do something like that. I don't know. And we see like, give me TV shows and give me movies, and just we go in like a lot of deep dive, and show us also the year, be accurate, show me the year that I know where we are in the timeline. But yeah, until then, I do believe we got to the end of the episode.
Did we though? What actually happens?
I We didn't really
What did
talk
it-
about what really happened. Okay, we talked
What-
vaguely about
yeah.
what happens, but we basically ranted about our bigger problems with this show.
We're in Numenor. She's running around. She being Galadriel's running around being a bitch. The captain is actually a cool dude. He takes her to the other side of the island, which is actually really huge, where it doesn't matter. She finds a library. She confirms what the orcs are doing. Isildur's wants to be shipmate. Father doesn't want that. Sister gets accepted. And dude's in prison for stealing shit and causing trouble because he just wants to be a blacksmith in a new land and ditch Galadriel. Good times. We find out that he is probably the king of, or once was an old king, or in the bloodline of to be king of the Southern Lands, which would be the area of Mordor, which whatever, doesn't matter. End scene. Nori's causing a lot of trouble with the old man. They're having their little ceremony. He stumbles in. They all realize he's connected. They're like, okay, instead of exiling you right now, because Nori, you're fucking dumb and probably going to become a took at some point. You get to suffer. There you go. You get to suffer being at the back of our little migration, and wizard man, meteor man, we don't know what you are, just like friend, and helps push their cart because the father, well, technically I guess the wizard broke his foot. Anyways, doesn't matter. Cool. So end scene. We have our elf of color, the Eok, working in the Southlands and understanding this plan that has been put into action, and they need to escape. And it's kind of fruitless because he gets the chance to look outside of the ditch, and like he thinks he can make it at the given time that the rest of the elves agreed upon. But nope, there are more orcs at the top and shoot down his buddy elf, and he gets pulled back into the pit to meet some mysterious figure who will find out who he is at some point. End scene. Did I miss anything?
Adar. His name. Okay, so they tell us the name of this episode is For Adar, or just Adar. We do see the main, like, a bad guy at the end, and I have a little theory. So first of all, the name of the planet that we are is it Adra? Arda.
Arda, right?
That's the name of the planet. So I personally think that the guy with the Galadriel, Habel, whatever his name is, I think he's Sauron. If he's not Sauron, because he is a king, they do tell us like he is a king, but like a banished king. I think he might be the Witch King. He will eventually become the Witch King if this other guy is actually Sauron.
Right.
The actor who plays this other guy, we haven't seen his face yet, but it is the actor, and I did check this in IMDb, and this kind of gives me the feeling that yes, this guy might be Sauron. So if you go to IMDb and you look at all the actors, it will show you the character name that they play.
Right.
If you go to this guy specifically, and this guy did play Benjamin Stark in Game of Thrones, he is the only person that has no name. Interesting. So not even Adar. So it could be like, could this guy be Sauron? This is what you guys telling me?
I don't fucking care.
I don't know. It's a theory. I'm gonna throw it out there in case if I'm right, so I can say like, "Hey guys, I was right." If I'm wrong, so I guess I was wrong. I don't give a fuck. This is our episode.
This is spoilers, obviously. Thanks for coming. Yes, bad.
Yes, we'll give you all the links below. We talked about Yeah, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, episode 3. Tomorrow morning, episode 4 is going to come out. And we like halfway through, like tomorrow, we are going to be halfway through this show. Nothing really happens. But until then, guys, we are Spoilers, obviously, and we'll talk with you guys on the next episode. Bye.
Goodbye.